So coming up, I have Not Ready to Die and Carry On. If you're interested, stay tuned for that. Before I get into those two, I wanted to kind of make this prerequisite to those because they deal with sweep picking a lot. Carry On more so than Not Ready to Die. I don't know, they both have heavy amounts of sweep picking in it, that's my point. And you're going to need that skill set in order to play those songs. So I wanted to make this video going as in depth as I can to show you every little detail of how to sweep pick. These take fucking forever to edit, so all right, let's get into it. There's the sweep picking. What are you doing? Babe, get out. Get out. I love you, bitch. If you're familiar with Rocksmith, is how I'm going to be explaining this. So just follow along on my fretboard. If you haven't watched Propagate's lesson, go do that. It's really good. So sweep picking, you're pretty much just sweeping arpeggios, but it doesn't really have to be an arpeggio. It could be anything that requires you to just have a downward motion and an upward motion back and forth, where you pluck one note per string. The trick is to get each note when you're playing them. It's one note per string, and then you want to isolate each note. So instead of each note to ring out just for a split second. If you kind of like look at how your hand's shaped, you kind of want it to, like, my wrist is like this, by the way. It's kind of turned outwards. It is kind of uncomfortable sometimes, but you don't have to. You can just arch your fingers over this way or turn your fingers this way. Either or comfortable, or straight up. I think Sin does it like this anyway. To start with this shape, so get your pinky on the lowest note, the pinky on the A, middle finger on the D, pointer on the G, and then middle again on the B string, and then it's going to be your pointer finger on high E, hammer on to both fret on high E as well with your pinky. So if I do this real slowly, see what I'm doing here. Or you can use your ring finger. And go ahead and play that. But whenever you are playing it down, have your pick land on the next string between each note. So here's an example of what I mean. I'm not using a pick, I'm just using my fucking finger now, but hey, it works. Now, while you're doing this, you need to focus on muting the strings. So at all times while you're doing this, you want to make sure that each note, only that note is ringing out. You don't want more to ring out, or else it'll just sound like shit. So what I'm doing is I'm resting my hand on my strings normally, and just how you would on a regular palm mute section. You don't have to rotate and be in any awkward position for this. Just rest your hand on the strings, and then when you play, I'm going to lift my hand up just slightly. So if I were to be playing a palm mute section and then also have a open note, that same movement. So between palm muting and then open, that position right before both of those is where you want to be, just lightly on the strings. That position, how comfortable you are on the strings. For sweep picking, do exactly that, except lift up on it slightly. So just barely kind of graze the microscopic hairs against your strings. If I have them gain up. If I was palm muting fully, it would sound like that. The aim here is to I'm just barely touching the strings with my skin. And when you do that, the curvature of your hand will kind of just do this for you, where when you pick, your palm won't be in the way of the string, but whenever you go down a string, your palm is definitely in the way of the string that you just picked. So you don't have to worry about your left hand all that much. You can let your lanky fingers kind of just do whatever they want and don't have to worry about it. So go ahead and just practice that. Another thing to get used to is while you're doing this, I'm letting the pick kind of just rest against the next one. So it should sound like that. If it sounds like this, you're doing it wrong. Try to get it whenever you go to pick down that the E string is the only string that you have ringing out. When you're holding your pick, either hold it super tight or barely at all. So if you reach the next string and it's not muted, try lowering your hand a bit, or kind of like get your palm somewhere on these strings so that it mutes before you hit that next string. Get this oriented so that it picks open and then it mutes whenever you go farther. A good way to practice it is literally just do the notes individually, where you just over time try to minimize the movement that you need, and you'll slowly get to where it's basically not moving at all, and you just but now we need to go the other way, and this is going to be a little bit uncomfortable for most people because it's going down. You know. I mean, we do that all the time with chords. But essentially, we are going to go up when we get up to the high E, ignoring the frets for now. We're going to hammer onto that 12 from the diagram I showed you earlier. I'm going to pick up as well whenever I hammer on to that, whichever note it happens to be. For this shape that I'm showing you, I'm 12th fret on the high E. It's better to practice this with doing the whole thing up and down. You don't have to sit there and just practice down. So the other half of this is going back up. So I'm kind of slightly lifting my pick back so it's smoother. So I'm picking down, then picking up on high E, and then I'm picking up again on the B string, but it's more of like I'm not just sliding right back into it. I'm kind of starting again on the B string. And then just slowly practice those shapes over and over and over again for 12 hours. And rinse and repeat. So quick overview, going down, muting with the right hand, somewhere on your palm, just fucking pick somewhere. And then picking on the high E whenever you hammer on. So hammer on plus pick at the same time your finger touches that string. And then going up from the B string, muting with the left hand. I'm now going back down. I'm not going to pick the lowest note. I'm going to start the sweep again by going over it and then just starting the sweep. So whenever you're going up, whenever you get to the A, pick down on it instead to start the sweep again. So